right, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the first meeting for the Town Administrator Screening Committee, and I'm going to start with the first item. Organization of the committee, nomination and vote of chair and possible vice chair. Do we have any nominations for
I'd like to
chair?
nominate Tom Walsh to chair the committee.
I'll second that.
Any further? Sorry, I'm trying to do minutes at the same time.
Nominations.
Is that it?
Not me.
Anybody else want to be chair?
Anybody else interested, raise your hand.
Okay, Tom Walsh says chair.
We need to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All those in
Vote?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adam?
Aye. Aye.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, it's all yours. You can sit over here now.
I'm fine. I'll open up nominations for vice chair. I think that's important. We're in the summer season and holidays and time frame's kind of short. So nominations for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Alan Jermaine if I can.
I'll second that if no one else does. Any other nominations for vice chair?
Mr. West.
Thank you, but how do I say politely? Good.
No.
You just did.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
So seeing no more nominations for vice chair, I'll vote for Alan Jermaine as vice chair.
Aye.
Aye.
Stand.
Aye.
So it's unanimous. So we have completed one thing on the agenda. And now the next thing is to discuss and possible vote of the charge of the committee, which they gave us a package today. Very nice package from Elaine. Going through the charge, I think that, so we just completed choosing a chair. And then we must use a recruiting consultant and spend no more than $16,000.
On that, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sure.
Town bylaw says that the select board will appoint a town administrator from a list provided by a screening committee. That's it. Doesn't say any more than that. So I'd like to get opinion and find out where they have the authority to order us to use a recruiting company and to give us a $16,000 limit on this project if it is our duty to provide a list. For all we know, we could put an ad in the MMA and get qualified applicants and save the town a whole bunch of money. I just don't read where the bylaw gives them the authority to dictate the policy and the procedure by which we accomplish this, because the bylaw is very simple.
Yep.
Typically, and I've been involved in a lot of these, typically there is a consultant that's used. And a lot of that deals with the optics of it, just to make sure that there is an independent part of this organization that does what they do regardless of what the, well, let me rephrase that. They're independent of the board of this committee.
Then why have the committee?
And that's an important issue. I think. You don't have to have a consultant. They've got the expertise. We don't. I don't. Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of these too. Town administrators, superintendents, and so forth. I don't see myself as an expert in doing that, though. The idea of a independent consultant that does this, that has the expertise, is a good idea, I think. One of my questions would be is, and I know it doesn't have to be. You don't even have to do a search if you don't want to. I don't think there's even that. But is this a process that has to go out to bid under the Procurement Act, or is this, or not?
So since it's in between the $10,000 and $50,000 range, it's just quotes?
We get 3 quotes.
So-
And in the
so-
package, they sent you this
Yeah, so-
today,
so-
there's
so
a
it's a
form to
quote
do that.
process, and there's a few, okay, so, but anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on an independent professional consultant.
Now, I've gone back and forth on this in my mind as well, and I think the optics of having a consultant, plus they'll do some work for you. And I don't have a ton of time, and the timing here is really tough. I was concerned about whether or not we had time to get a consultant, but done a little bit of checking, and I think we do have time to get it to, and have quotes in, 3 quotes in by, probably by the end of the week. And then in some manner, we're gonna have to decide who, I guess the low bidder would get it
Yes.
under this process, because it's not an RFP, it's
Right.
3 quotes, and the low one gets it, and...
That scares me even more.
Well, it's the low bid as to.
What we have them do, though, is spelled out in that form.
Okay.
I mean, if we don't, we have to go back to the Board of Selectmen and start, because, and I understand what you're saying, it isn't spelled out in the law, but it's obvious that the Board of Selectmen has to be the entity that creates a screening committee. To give us some parameters, I think they're a little more specific than they have to be, but it didn't seem unreasonable to me.
If I may, I agree with Alan. I don't like that they're saying that we must use, because it's not clearly written that way. However, I also would recommend that we do use a recruiting consultant. In my profession in accounting, we almost always use, and I've hired probably 3 people over the last 2 years, and my recruiters have always saved me a ton of time, because we always throw up a job posting on Indeed and whatever, and the resumes that come through and having to filter through those just to find the ones that actually meet the criteria and standards, because you wouldn't believe how many people are going to throw that, oh yeah, I'll be town administrator.
I
And so
would.
the
I would.
recruiting consultant would save us.
We're in the process now of trying to find a finance director, and we're seeing the same, stack of resumes.
Yeah, so I
get what
think
you're
that
saying.
alone is worth its weight in using a consulting firm, just because they will filter through, they will bring to us only people that meet the criteria that we state we require.
So maybe I'm not being clear. I don't have a problem with us using a consultant. I have a problem with the process being dictated by, suddenly I'm popular tonight, by the process being dictated by the Select Board in citing this bylaw that is extremely vague. And personally, I agree with hiring a consultant. They save us a lot of time. But by the time we put this out to, quote, bid, and then we wait till we get it back, we know the quality of the Collins Center, we know the quality of, I think it was Paradigm. Yeah, Community Paradigm. 2 very highly rated, highly recommended organizations. I'm confused as to why we're jumping through the hoop of looking for a bid process, and I agree we need a consultant. I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that the whole optic of the thing, where we appear to be on the end of a string as dictated to by the Select Board, that's where I have the problem, because that's not what the bylaw says.
Right. That's true. But Mary?
Tom, am I mistaken, but I thought the dollar figure was higher than
No,
the 16?
That
Wasn't
was
it
Bob
18?
Belvin come up
They
with
bounced, they
16,000.
bounced 18 around, but settled on 16.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
And we haven't addressed if that's not enough. What happens if the big
I was
comes
just gonna
back at
say,
20,
could they-
23?
If that's not enough, and of course, the form, as they, Elaine gave us a copy of, if what we insist that they do, perhaps they don't have to do everything there, but if it was more than $16,000, we have to stop and go to the selectmen. They were very specific on that. Having to watch that meeting on TV, which
I do
shows
too.
you how much of a life I have, and
I'm with you.
Well, you wait till it comes out on YouTube. You know, you have a little more flexibility in when you watch.
but the optics of it, I think it's helpful
I agree.
to the process, and I would worry about if we just put it out on MMA, let's say, and where it's in the middle of the summer, and the particular situation here where there's already someone in the job that's also going to be applying for the job, we might get, I'm afraid we're going to get 2 or 3, and then it's going to then we're going to be scrambling because we know it's not going to look like we really.
Point of clarification, do we have to do 3 bids, or if we know that Paradigm and Collins are too reputable, can we just request bids from just the 2 of them?
I don't think so. No, I think we have to do 3.
Need at least 3.
Because of the dollar amount.
You have to go to at least 3 and get responses from 3.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
you, under the Procurement Act, you have to make an attempt to get 3 bids. You don't have to receive 3. As long as you've got documentation that you've made an attempt. If you send out to 3 or 4 entities and you only get 1 response, that's okay. If you get 4 responses, that's okay too. And then it's a matter of, do they meet the specifications? And, low bid is, some people have issues with low bid and so forth. Typically, what I've found is when there are issues with low bid, there are issues with the specification. You choose somebody that's low bid, and then, wait a minute, that's not what we wanted, or whatever. Well, that's not doing it. You gotta lay that out in the specification. So it's usually a problem with specification. Low bid is okay.
Got India Mike, so Adam.
If you get, let's say that you get 3 or 4 responses and they're all more than the 15 or 16,000 that were allotted, you can go back. You can look at the document, and there's 4 or 5 or 6 places that there are dollar amounts that add up to the bottom. If you want to get rid of one of them, you can do that. Or you can say, okay, you're all over our budget. Would you like to rebid it? Would you like to give us another quote? And you can do it that way too.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Also, you have the opportunity to pick the 3 people that you want to quote on that. So, to not worry about so much as low bidder, you can go out and solicit 3 quality firms and see which one comes in the lowest based on your list that you've created. So
You don't think we're stuck with this list?
absolutely not. That's just a
No,
that's just
you
a
don't-
list. So you can go out and find. People just can't throw you a quote. You had to go solicit it and give them the specifications, we'd call them, but your qualifications, and then you have 3 or 4 or 5 reputable firms that you wanted to give you a quote on, and so that your low quote could be, okay, that could be a reliable quote. So don't get stuck with, that's the difference between putting something out to bid. If you put something out to bid, anyone can bid on it. But when you're soliciting quotes, you can just solicit it to the vendors that you want to participate in that.
Absolutely.
So the next thing is going to be the time is of the essence. It's all on how fast they can respond.
Right.
Well, right, and the form that procurement gave us has them having to get back to us by July 2nd, by the end of this week.
They won't even get these.
That's-
till-
Wow.
They can get them all tomorrow.
That's not, that should not be a problem for any of them.
No, they can get them all tomorrow, and,
This thing would take them 5 minutes.
and that'll give us next week to hire someone,
Okay.
and then it'll give them some time to spruce up the profile and make some changes and get it out by the 16th. I think that's the only hope we have of getting it out by the 16th. I, for one, am not here from the 11th to the 16th. I don't know if other people perhaps have vacations. I don't know if we have to have a meeting of 9 people. If you're going to take low bid,
Well, you have a quorum of 5, but
do you need
obviously,
that, or can you
we'd like
just
to have
designate, since it's
everybody.
going to be low bid, that you designate someone to
Does
accept?
participation on Zoom count for quorum?
I think you would
It
need,
counts to the quorum,
You would
that
need
it,
a-
yes, it does.
What?
you would need a meeting to do that, I think.
What?
Choose the low bidder.
We could have Zoom. You could have the people that are on vacation join us by Zoom. Adam, you still here? Or did I drop you?
No, I am here, but it is my understanding that anybody on Zoom does not count towards the quorum. That's the result of dropping the emergency declaration by the governor.
Yeah, but they come up with new additions to it, and I believe they held on to that.
There was some kind of extension, but I don't know.
Yeah,
what it
I'm
was.
getting yeses from several people in the room.
Okay.
So I think that's one of the things they didn't drop, is you can still do Zoom if you need to, and it would count to the quorum. I wasn't really concerned about having 5 in the room as much as I think we'd be concerned about having 6 in the room, and it's more the members that couldn't be here. We want to have everybody participate.
Right.
So just through you, the chair, should we just stick with, as far as the first agenda item, making sure that we review what the town wants us to do? And then once we review that we're,
Right, we
and
kinda got-
then we can come up with a plan
We got a
on,
little off the track,
and
yeah.
getting, how we're going to handle that consultant, I guess.
So, to go back to the first, what we were actually doing, reviewing the charges, we're supposed to hire a consultant and conduct interviews to select candidates to establish and work with them to establish questions that the candidates will get. And the recruit consultant is to do reference and background checks. And the screening committee must comply with the town administrator bylaw, and the screening committee must present 4 unranked finalists to the select board by September 1st. And there's a primer in there on the open meeting law and all the do's and don'ts there, which we obviously have to also live by.
What if we only have 3? I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just not trying to see this get, they pulled 4 out of their hat, so I'm just confused as to where it says we have to have 4.
That was my point that I was going to make. You may not have 4 by number, and then you may look at a group and said, we don't have 4 there. You know, so maybe it's only 2 or 3. I don't know how you,
Why don't we cross that bridge if we end up having that
I would have
problem?
preferred it to say a maximum of 4, but
Are we allowed to make changes to this charge?
No.
No, I would think not.
And the selectmen don't meet again until July 20th.
All right.
Couldn't that be handled, I mean, through Pat, couldn't that be handled on a case, we get down to that position, that this is happening
If
sometime
we see that, let's
in
see
August,
what
and,
happens.
the committee might have to take a vote to say, listen, we can only recommend 3 candidates, and that's,
you got to be practical about this. Oh, yeah.
can't fire us.
speak for yourself.
It's all we can do, is you could just be reasonable, and that's what you're left with, that's what you're left with.
My fear is, because sometimes things get taken very literally, is that if we don't present 4, could they then say, well, the task didn't do their job and we're just going to go our own route and completely...
Absolutely.
I don't think they're going to.
Oh, absolutely they can.
Typically, it's 3. I don't know where 4 came from.
I don't
That would be
either.
my fear.
I would think we would have to have a good reason not to submit 4.
Yeah, we may not get 4.
4's a lot.
We may, though.
I think you're gonna,
3 is typical.
Carver's a pretty welcoming town.
I think-
Let's
yeah,
think
I think-
optimistically.
I think we cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I mean, if we have the problem, we'll deal with it. We can sit here all night and think of problems we might have that we might never have.
That's fair.
So that pretty much completes going through the charge, I guess. Anyone have any questions about that? Because the next part, the next thing is to, on the agenda, is to kind of get into the discussion we were just having, which is scope services, timeline, and regarding the consultant. So if we're done with that, we'll move on to what we were discussing, which is how are we going to solicit the consultant? And we've said we can do it by requesting 3 quotes. And there's a form in here that Elaine gave us, which, or procurement gave us rather, that some of which, you know, we don't necessarily have to ask the consultant to do all of these things. Do we want to go through that?
But this would be a way to get an itemized budget to see where we are in it.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
there might be something that, to Alan's point, there might be something we can do ourselves.
I think there are,
I mean,
are
you
some
might
things
say
that we might want to do
with
ourselves.
procurement and Shelby and Elaine's help.
Right.
But some of these on the list, I think are definitely where you'd want a consultant to assist
Right.
you with. I mean,
Right.
So could we discuss the bid process as in, can we send this out and get quotes from 3 out of these 4 on the list?
Sure.
And if that were the case, could I make a motion that we send out this form to item 1, 2, and 4? The only thing that's stopping me from 3 is not one of the conventional firms.
It's
Well,
interesting that they
you know-
included that detail.
Yeah, I saw that.
I read everybody's website today, and 1 and 3, you had to really dig to find that they do town administrators.
Yeah.
It was clear in the Collins Center in number 4.
Yeah.
But I agreed with, I liked number 1 as well. But again, it wasn't jumping out, you know,
Yeah.
as a list of their
I mean,
tasks.
Our own procurement might have some feedback on some of these groups that might mean why you might pick one over the other.
One over the other, sure.
Because I know that there's been some experience recently with some of these consultants in the area, and what those selectmen or whatever are saying as far as how their process went might be something we don't probably discuss right here, and I don't even know. We have the information here, but
through you, Mr. Chairman, could I, Alan, would it be possible just if I said another motion maybe to,
Sure.
we could just see if
That one was never seconded, so
Okay.
it went nowhere.
Well, I mean, what if, you know, in essence, to keep this moving, and what if the chairman, and I'm just speaking out loud, the chairman and the vice chair work with procurement to come up with the list of, we can say 3 or 4, we can give them a number, and that way they have the and work with procurement and come back with the list that the 3 quotes can come with. So you guys can do a little research on, it's hard just to pick names off a sheet when no one's even
We could send out
to
all 4.
look at them, and you know, and Shelby might be able to dig into them and get some references from other communities and go, hey, this was a great fit, and allow the chairman and vice chairman to pick those 4.
Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, can I ask, Shelby, who produced this list?
Elaine.
Why don't we just send out a bid to all 4 of them? See what we get back. We may not even hear from some of these people by Friday.
The thing that I've noticed about consultants too, it's not like they have their own stable of people. You know, this is going out into a public domain, and there's going to be responses. Okay, one of the things that we need to be really aware of is are the applicants in a way of experience. Okay, this is not a negative statement at all. Carver is a small town. we've had two town administrators, okay? And basically, when I first started here, there wasn't a town administrator. But we've had two. Both of them, this was their first full-time town administrator position.
Excuse me, Pat. Can you hear him, Adam?
Oh, sorry.
I'm having a hard time making out everything.
Okay.
Pat's talking right
Because
now.
I'm not talking into the microphone. Okay, so in any case, we've had, over the years, we've had two town administrators. In both cases, the Town of Carver was their first full-time town administrator position. It's not like Carver's size that does not make it that stepping stone in a career path. And that goes for the town administrators, it goes for superintendents, because that was the same thing with superintendents. I can think of 3 out of the last 4 that this was also their first superintendency. So it's not like it's a career-type stepping stone like it would be in some other cases. So I think that those are the kind of candidates that we're going to get. I think there's a value, again, for the consultant to be at least doing some kind of screening, maybe even interviewing of some of these, because I don't know if we're going to get highly experienced people. We may not.
Bourne got 32 applications.
What's that?
When Bourne advertised for their town administrator, they got 32
Yeah.
applicants.
Well, and how many were good?
I don't know.
Yeah. See, so and I mean that's what happens. I see it all. I've seen it all the time over the years. So and that just wanted to make that point. But I think that it would be advantageous to put this out to all 4, or even more if there are some that others know about. And the sheet here is fine. It should be put out that, you can want to answer all these things, and we may not require them all. But let's get a dollar figure for each one and see where it comes in.
You making that a motion?
If you'd like, I can make that a motion.
You want?
Yes.
I'm asking you.
Before you do that, my only concern, and I agree with just about everything you said, is should there be some process that we have a couple people in procurement just investigate a brief process, some of the people on this list or others, and I just go back to the low bidder. If we put it out to more people and we don't know who they are, and one of them comes as the low bidder, you've now got to take them.
Well,
so you might just want to refine your 3 that you want to pick, or 4 you want to pick, and know they're qualified. I just don't know these people, and again, Elaine's not here to explain if these are all the top of Massachusetts, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't
Yeah.
want to find out. I can't believe we got this company.
So this list is more of just the suggestions and previous
Okay,
companies that she's.
I mean, obviously.
that's my only concern, and I have no problem with that. I
that's-
just want to make sure that the 3 we get, no matter low bidder or not, that we're just getting the right
question then
ones.
remains, if we set a charge for somebody to go research these, then do we have to reconvene to vote which we're going to bid on? Because if we're looking
Yeah.
for responses by Friday,
You would,
we're a little
yeah.
short on time.
Would we have to do that, though? I mean, couldn't we just make that a motion that we pick the chair and vice chair to work
make
with
the
procurement and make the decision? I mean,
I'd
it's-
rather just go back to the original 3.
The 3 you picked,
Yeah.
but that's based on what,
but
though?
that's based on,
What?
It's based on.
I've
I know
heard-
that Community Paradigm's been recommended by Carol Julius in a previous time. She had very good luck with that in Bridgewater. Obviously, everybody's familiar with the Collins Center. So we all have good and bad history with the Collins Center, but they're the Collins Center. Municipal Resources, Inc. is the only one I don't know, but I do know that if Elaine has taken the time to write these 4 names down, it's because she didn't have 5. And I would have to trust that.
I mean, I've heard some different things, and you've just some things contradicting what you just said about some of those people.
Okay.
From the same people, so.
Really?
Yeah.
I find that's funny. Okay.
Yeah, so, and that's why I say, maybe would someone research with procurement?
Yes.
what
Well,
they-
then the committee can certainly vote to put this in the lap of the chair and the procurement officer and let him make the decision as to what bids go to whom, and he has our confidence, we certainly can do that.
That can.
So we don't have to reconvene to vote. We can just let that fall on his shoulders
You
and,
do it that way, yeah.
you know?
Is that okay with you, Tom?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to pick three, yeah, yeah.
Would you want the vice chair to assist you on that, or another?
I don't mind, but what I worry about is when you get to the point of it's being a subcommittee of a committee, then do you have to have meetings and do you
No.
have to post
No.
them?
No.
You know, if it's one person, that's one thing, but if it's two or three, I believe if it's, well, at least if we were to make a subcommittee to do something, that subcommittee has to follow all the rules of the committee as far as 48-hour notice and things like that. So, I mean, I think if you just pick one, I don't care who.
I don't, okay, I don't
committee can-
I don't think we need a subcommittee, but I made a motion that no one seconded, so I will, so
I didn't hear the motion.
that's okay. You didn't.
Craig asked you to wait on the motions. I don't.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that would say that as the committee, we would provide that the chair of the committee work with the chief procurement officer to come up with 3 names of municipal consultants on behalf of this committee.
I'd like to amend that motion.
Okay?
I'd like to add you to it. You've been down this road before. You're familiar with this process. You've worked with some of these organizations. I would not have a problem having Pat and the chair, and we'll give you our confidence to pick the 3 that you want to send out, and we'll support that decision.
Someone want to second that motion?
I'll second
So we
it.
kind of make believe.
Pat, Pat, Adam, you okay with that?
Yes.
Me, Mary Ann, Craig all did.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor, seconded that and it's been seconded that the chairman and Pat Maha will talk to the town procurement and determine what 3 of the 4 or who will get the quotes. Right,
We're going to come up with 3.
and we'll do that real promptly,
Okay,
like tomorrow,
I'm good.
so that we can get it out tomorrow, so that, I mean, we're only giving them till Friday to get back to
Well, I
us.
included Pat because he's retired, that's what.
That's fine.
So no fishing tomorrow, so.
All right, so all those in favor of the motion as made and seconded?
Aye.
All right, Adam,
Aye.
All right, so that's unanimous, okay?
now you're in the hot seat.
And, okay, so the remaining thing on the agenda is the discussion and of where do we go next? Yes?
Can I add something? So from the bid form for numbers 3 and 4, we have to pick one. We have to interview by a consultant or interview by TASC.
Interview by,
Oh, I thought it.
can't we
Why can't we
get a
get
price
prices on
either
both?
way?
Why couldn't they would perform preliminary interviews and then we would perform secondary interviews?
Okay. I just,
Yeah.
So do you think there's one there that there has to be a
I
choice?
think we have to pick either interview by the consultant or interview by the,
Okay.
I don't-
By consultant.
I don't think so. I think
Interviewing
that's
by
a-
consultant.
But it's preliminary
Besides
interviews. The 3 is preliminary interviews.
an interviewing by, yeah, it's good.
I think but there's a price beside it, so this is the
Yeah.
price it would be if we do preliminary, if they do preliminary interviews, and this is the price it would be if
They do
the
the-
interview is
Okay.
conducted by us. I don't
Okay.
think it's an either or. I think
Yeah.
there's a number to each line, and then we decide, yeah, based on the fact that he wants $23,000 to interview the potential clients, we're gonna do it ourselves.
Right.
okay,
In the final analysis, one of them will get thrown out,
okay,
but we can get a price
Right.
for both. So
Okay.
we can have the bid, we have the choice.
okay. I just wanted to,
But you're right, that
Okay.
one has to go.
right.
Right. But I think we need to have a number before we know which one has to go,
Right.
and then who the consultant really is.
So through you, so when you and Pat will go through, narrow down the list, you'll send through with Shelby's help, you'll send out a bid form or quote form for quotes to come in. What do you or the committee visualize the quote forms come in? Is the intention for yourself and Pat to, well, obviously you got to go with low bidder and then award a contract? Or would that be another meeting that the board, this committee would have to get involved?
I believe that.
As the timeline is, how does that work?
I think some people felt we need another meeting for that.
I would be more comfortable with that, with
Yeah.
the meet, yes.
Okay.
The board
Just
should
because
be
we're back to
behind
optics again.
that
fine.
appointment.
So that puts us,
Yeah, because, just for point of clarification, I think the low bid won't necessarily be clear because it would depending on,
Which
you know,
option?
to Alan's point, like, are we choosing number 3 or number
Yep,
4?
I
So
agree.
those numbers could change.
Yep.
So I think we would have to have another meeting to review the bids received
okay.
and make our à la carte choice.
Yeah. How about the potential for possibly, I don't know, do you really think we're going to get bids back by the 2nd of July? I think that's stretching
do.
it.
Yes.
You really
No.
think that's the case?
If you,
I believe,
if you
This
ask
is
for
a
them,
no-brainer.
you get them. If one comes
Recruiting
back,
firms,
then
this
that's
is
what
what
you
they're
go
waiting
with.
for. I mean, they jump right on.
I'm
this.
hoping we don't get them all back.
That's how they make
Like I
their
told
money.
you, this
It
is
would be
5
nice
minutes.
if you only get one back.
Somebody fills this out in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So is the form faxed to the companies?
I'd imagine it's emailed.
you can do email, but you have to do the same for all the companies.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have them email it back
Yep.
Yeah,
by the close of business on Friday.
yes.
Or do we do noon time on Friday?
I would do noontime.
Okay. all right.
Yeah.
Which is the close of business, I guess.
Yeah.
So how about depending upon when these come back, it's up to
Well, if
you?
they come back, then we know we need another meeting.
Right, so,
We know,
and you can
unless
send
there's
an
only
email.
one that comes back, we could, maybe should we set up a tentative meeting for next week, at least to look, so
Good.
people can look at their,
Should.
I'm here until the 11th.
You're lucky.
I'm out of town from the 2nd to the 19th.
Okay?
2nd to the 19th.
Would you be available to participate via Zoom? Would you be able to?
Could we get you on the phone?
Yeah, most likely, yeah. If it's early evening, during the day, maybe not.
I think it almost.
Why,
likely
where are
be
you going, out in the
meeting.
woods somewhere or something? Up in Maine?
No, Tennessee. I ride the mountains on the bike, and sometimes I get reception, sometimes I don't.
How about tentatively July 8th? What do you think about that? I have a Concom meeting here on the 7th. Or we could do the 6th, but that's the day after. We're closed on the 5th, right? That's
I'd
July
like to do
4th.
it,
Right.
I'd like to do it earlier, I mean,
The 6th?
Yeah, I would recommend.
they've only
the
got to the 16th to get it out.
Okay.
I will not be here on the 6th, but as long as you can have a quorum, I have no problem with the group making a
We're
decision
gonna
on my
have to go
behalf.
with quorum, I mean, and how, you know.
No, as long as we figure there will be a quorum to make it,
If
then
we
I have
can
no
get a
problem.
quorum, though, that's.
No problem with that
that's-
decision.
I can be available the 6th if it's after 4:30.
You can be?
I could be here the 6th.
Can we do 7 o'clock on the 6th?
She just said 4:30.
I said anytime after 4:30.
Oh, I was hoping you said 4:30.
I'm in a dentist chair at 5 o'clock, so 7 would be great
Okay,
if we could do 7 o'clock.
That's fine for me, that's the time.
okay, so 7 o'clock on the 6th? Mary?
I'm here. I'll be here.
Okay.
Adam, you got that?
Bruce, you said yes, right?
Yes, I could be here.
So that
Craig,
makes-
you're away.
I apologize, I'm away.
That's no problem. Pat?
I'm good.
All right.
Adam?
Adam?
Adam's good for that, so he says.
Oh, good.
7 o'clock on the
talking to us?
6th. You got that? Well, I didn't want to cut him off. I'm trying to use my calendar and not end. I think I still got you, Adam.
Yeah, I'm still here.
There you are.
So you good with that time at 7 PM next Tuesday?
That should work, yes.
All right.
Nice.
Is this room available?
I believe so, yes. Normally, the select board would be in here, but they do not have a meeting.
When did the selectmen have meeting?
Right.
Yep. And FinCom is the
Well, look
following.
at that, we just did like 2 items in one. So we set our
Right.
next meeting and did our next steps.
Now for the easiest one of the night.
Motion to adjourn.
We are efficient.
I just wanted to mention
Sure.
one more thing. Elaine wanted me to mention, for when we sign the consultant contract, who would be authorized to sign off
Chair.
I
I
don't
would say
know.
chair.
The chair.
I,
Would that be something that we would discuss the next meeting?
No, the chair.
No,
I think I would nominate the chair.
it's always the chair. But
Yeah.
if it needs a nomination,
I don't mind that, but I'm just, from a procurement point of view, who would normally
who's
sign?
the procurement officer?
Right, who is Rick?
He
but he
would
can't.
be...
I'm
Actually,
just saying, that's the way, that's who it is. So
Actually,
does it go there maybe from the chairman? of the
That-
Board of
yeah,
Selectmen, Or
that's-
does it go to me?
Oh, yeah, should it be the chairman of the Board of Selectmen?
It would be the
Signs it?
chair for this type of committee.
For this
But I just
committee?
want, yeah.
All right, okay.
But I don't know if you want to make a motion on that tonight, or if that wants to be.
Make a
on
motion, the chairman of the task committee sign the contract.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now there's a motion to adjourn.
You have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning until 7 PM on July 6th?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, we're adjourned.